Yahweh Shemel Shah, Barakatah Yahweh Shah, Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahweh Shah.
The hardest walk leads to the greatest destination. And what's our destination, brothers? The kingdom, man. The arms of Yahweh Shai, man. The scriptures tell us in the Apocrypha, there's a day coming where Yahweh Shai will place crowns upon the heads of the brothers that maintain their faith in him, that believed in him. He shall place crowns upon their heads. Ezra saw that, man. Our great forefather Ezra saw that in the vision. We want to be part of that group, man. We want to be one of those individuals receiving that crown from Yahweh Shai. You know how great that is? I couldn't begin to possibly explain that in words. Words can't even explain the joy of that. Okay?
And when the chief shepherd shall appear, ye shall receive a crown of glory that fadeth not away.
Be in this truth and to make it to the end, as it is written, to finish the work, like Yahweh Shai said. I've finished the work, you know. The Apostle Paul said the same thing. Henceforth I know there's a crown of righteousness that is laid up for me. Okay, that is our destiny.
Blessed is the man that endureth temptation, for when he is tried, he shall receive the crown of life which the Lord hath promised to them that love him. The Spirit itself beareth witness with our spirit that we are the children of God. And if children, then heirs of God, and joint heirs with God. If so be that we suffer with him, that we may be also glorified together. For I reckon that the sufferings of this present time are not worthy to be compared with the glory which shall be revealed in us. For the earnest expectation of the creature waiteth for the manifestation of the sons of God.
All right, Shalom. First and foremost, I would like to give all praise, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shah, Bahashem, Kakadash, and double honors unto the apostles and the elders of GMS who rule well, teach well, being great examples towards younger brothers. All right, and peace and blessings, salutations to the hopeful they got there pushing his word and truth and in sincerity across the four winds in the name of Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shah. Push them, get up out of here. Shalom to the hopeful they, the believers, the listeners who have came back to the obedience of the truth through Yahweh Bashim Al Shai, you know. So what I want to go into today, okay, is an update, World War III update, as we understand that this third world's war, all right, is in motion. Yahweh Bashim Al Shai, is moving all the pieces, playing on the mind of the kings of the earth, okay, for the sake of prophecy being fulfilled, okay, and we're right here, and we know, all right, there's only a few things left, okay, before all out war, okay, and there's Jacob's trouble and the MOTB being mandated, all right, and then this war is going to spiral out of control, okay, which is going to usher in the coming of Yahweh Shai, so we're watching these things, gradually, take shape, all the moves, being made, all the pieces, okay, being put in place. And we follow these things according to prophecy, man. All right. And what we're seeing now is Russia began to project itself, even over here in the Western Hemisphere. Okay. And it's taking, bold stances against, all right, the whore, America. Okay. And it's the power of Yahweh Bashim Al Shai. It's the will of the Lord. This is what it looks like. Okay, the Lord put hooks in the jaws of Magog, okay, and bringing them forth. This is a glimpse. Now it's going to escalate to, the Russian military, just hey marching through the land, Okay, in a very destructive fashion. You see, it's gonna escalate to that. And what we're seeing now, okay, is statements being made, okay, like the politics of war, because before, the fighting intensifies, there's certain, okay, statements made, okay. You have a thing of, the politics of war, okay. Certain statements are being made to the public to show like this what it is, okay. So let's get some prophecy. I got a video, got a few things I looked up as well. So let's go to Isaiah 13 and 17. It said, listen carefully. I will put the Medes in motions against them. Okay, this are the Russians. Okay, I will put the Medes in motion against them. Against who? America. Okay, and you're seeing Russia begin to interfere, okay, with American policy all throughout the earth. Okay, we're gonna get there. It said, who have no regard for silver and do not delight in gold and therefore cannot be bribed. Okay, and we're gonna get into these things, man. Okay, when it comes to the economy, how Russia is at the forefront of not only arming these nations militarily, but also, all right, creating economic workarounds to the dollar. Okay, to where American sanctions don't have the force that they used to have. Okay, it says their bows will cut down the young men of Babylon because Russia is known for their advanced missile technology, man. Okay, and conventional warfare, and all right, we're gonna see it in nuclear warfare when this thing, all right, climaxes, man. It said they will not. It said they will take no pity on the fruit of the womb. Their eyes will not look with compassion on the children, man. And this, this weaponry, okay, this weaponry that Russia possesses and is arming these other nations with, it's not gonna have pity, all right, when they come over here to the West and get busy. And military, American military personnel abroad that's going to get, all right, obliterated, okay, in this third world war. All right, verse 19, it says, in Babylon, the glory of kingdoms, the beauty of the Chaldeans' pride will be like Sodom and Gomorrah when the Most High overthrew it. So it's going to be like fire, and it's going to be for the same reason, man. This lewd, proud, perverted, sick, twisted, all that madness that's coming out on this nigga Donald Trump, which he's an Edomite, and he's upper echelon. All right, so he's on, the freakiness, man. But just to hear these things was coming out with this nigga, man. Okay, this is Sodom and Gomorrah, man. Okay, and it's gonna get that same judgment through fire, man. It's gonna be eradicated, never to be, all right, inhabited again. Okay, so let's go from there. All right, because it said they will not regard gold or silver. Well, I looked this up. I just want to go into this. Uh, Somebody looked up. So I asked it on Google. I couldn't go to the chat, man. They got the chat tripping. Won't let me get in there. I don't know. Wore the chat out. But so just a quick overview. I said how has Russia hindered America's ambition in Venezuela? It said Russia has hindered, all right, the U.S. ambitions in Venezuela recently, primarily by providing political backing, military support, and maintaining economic ties with Nicolas Maduro's government, they're bolstering the regime against the U.S. pressure and isolation, all right, efforts. Okay, so through Russia, Venezuela is allowed, to still, have legitimacy, okay, across certain governments. Okay, they're able to still trade their oil, okay, which America puts sanctions on oil, but Russia is able to trade Venezuelan oil under a different company, process that oil and make it usable and profitable. Okay, so they're working around, like I say, those sanctions. Matter of fact, um, let's jump down. Okay, you got military cooperations and present. Moscow has maintained a continuous military presence in providing ongoing support to Venezuela armed forces. This includes weapon systems. Venezuela has invested billions in Russian-made weapon systems, including the Su-30 fighter jets and the S-300 surface-to-air missile systems, intended to deter, all right, U.S. military action. Military personnel advisors, the presence of Russian military personnel and private military contractors like the Wagner Group, which is now largely integrated into Russia's military, all right, structure on the ground, has projected solidarity and potentially complicated, all right, U.S. all right considerations for military intervention. Okay, and Trump don't back down too. All right, your tough president, your hero, which we told. This is what we've been saying. You know, the spirit had me going to it, but I told y'all Nero, all right, was a goddamn chump. Okay, he ain't built for this front line. That ain't him. All right, you know Nero, all he was just a freaky, okay, psychopath. Okay, Caesar, man. All right, was nothing significant about this nigga, man, as a ruler or a leader. Okay, when you really tap into him. The money started being debased under him. Okay, so there's nothing great about this nigga, man. All right, and Russia, all right, made that nigga stand down in Venezuela. Okay, and little weak ass boat attacks. Okay, that's to save face. All right, but he really ain't because you know if America got you, they got you. They in there. They ain't waiting. Okay, but Russia. Okay, aid in Venezuela got him at bay. Okay, it says Russia has sent naval ships and nuclear capable strategic bombers to Venezuela for exercises and port visits, serving as a reminder to the West that Moscow forces can operate in the Western Hemisphere. Yeah, so they're in the American backyard. Russia don't pull up to American backyard. All right, with their hands up like doughboy. Okay, showing their little scrap. You know, we got a problem here. You see, that's the gesture is being shown. Okay, it says economic involvement. It says Russia has maintained significant economic ties, particularly in the oil sector, which has provided a lifeline to the sanctioned Venezuela. All right, to the sanctioned Venezuela company. Russia state companies like Rosneft before all right, a U.S. blacklisting, and others have engaged in complex schemes to help Venezuela export crude oil and have provided essential supplies for its processing, circumventing the U.S. sanctions. Okay, so they put sanctions on Venezuelan oil. Okay, but Russia is able to take on that oil, process it, sell it. Okay, and still make Venezuela profitable, man. Okay, they got work around those U.S. sanctions, man. Okay, then Russia part of these different trade blocks, BRICS, the Shanghai Cooperation. So, which those nations have a economy that they can sustain themselves. Of course, the American dollar is always going to be the dominant currency in this old system. Okay, but what we see these nations have found workaround. All right, and they're collaborating. Okay, and they have you know, systems to maintain themselves. All right, during these American sanctions, man. Okay, so let's go from there. You see, and America is constantly being set up for failure. All right, and we seen the other day, Russia showing all those different new missiles systems that they got added to the arsenal. You know, they got something that they go Mach 10 gonna get there. Okay, you see, showing you that the Lord got these Russians tapped in. All right, this is Jeremiah 15:22, and then we'll get this video of Razazar. This is the book of Jeremiah, chapter 15, verse 22. It said, the noise of battle is in the land, and the noise of great destruction. Yeah, war drums. Okay, nothing but all we hearing is war drums. You hear the news, it's just war drums. Nations constantly getting ready, putting themselves in position for war, especially, all right, the Medes, which is at the forefront of instigating this war with the West. Okay, it says how the hammer of the whole earth is crushed and broken, how Babylon has become a horror, a desolation among the nations. So it's like, how did we get to this point? Like looking at America being a desert, then it's like, how did we get here? You know, how did this strong military and economic powerhouse of the earth, how did it get to this point? Okay. You see? Well, let's go. Let's go into it. Verse 24, I set a trap for you, and you were also caught. So the Lord got a trap for Babylon. First off, you're proud, okay, which makes you reckless, okay, and then the Lord got these nations, okay, that have plotted against you, man. There's a play against you, America, okay, and through your pride, you're gonna walk right into this trap and get your ass tore out the frame, man. Okay, abroad and okay, the landmass of America itself. All right, it says, and you did not know it. You have been found and also seized because you have struggled, okay, against the Lord, man, because this has been, all right, the place of rebellion in the earth. Okay, this has been the platform, okay, that glorified rebellion against Yahweh Bashim Al Shai. All right, now the Lord is going to judge for that. Okay, verse 25, the Lord has opened his armory. Okay, so all these different weapon systems these nations got, you know, right? There's high tech weaponry and technology and precision guiding and hypersonic and, you know, multiple warheads and, you know, unlimited range. And, you know, Mach 10. This the Lord opened it. The Lord in His bag, because it's all for judgment. And it says it has brought out the nations who unknowingly, all right, who unknowingly are the weapons of His indignations. All right. So the Lord said these nations are part of His weapons in the nation and the weaponry that they've come up with these nukes. You know, because the Lord is going to express His anger through nuclear warfare and the return of Yahweh. Okay, so this is His anger that's within these weapons, man. That's why they're so powerful. Okay, it said, for it is the work of the Lord, power of hosts in the land of the Chaldeans, man. Okay, America, man. There's no good news for America, man. You know, I don't know if they went up and told you. Okay, but ain't no good news for America, man. All right. So let's play this. All right, because Putin made Trump, okay, stand his ass down. Now he want to talk. Okay, let's play this.
Donald Trump is once again threatening military action in the United States' own hemisphere, and once again signaling that he may not actually want a war. At the same time, Russia has stepped more openly into the Venezuela standoff, confirming that new air defense systems have been sent to Nicolas Maduro's government, just as US warships crowd the Caribbean. Trump is now serving his second current term as president of the United States. Having returned to the White House in January 2025, Maduro, for his part, has been sworn in for a highly disputed third term as president of Venezuela after elections in 2024 that opposition figures and many Western governments say were rigged together. Their confrontation has reopened an old Cold War question. How far will Washington go to push back an authoritarian ally of Moscow in Latin America? And how far will Moscow go to shield him? Trump has treated Venezuela as a test of US power since his first term, when he warned that he was not going to rule out a military option against Maduro's government. That hard line has returned in his second term, but with a new twist: a large US naval buildup, real use of force at sea, and now the first public hint of possible talks over recent months. The United States has deployed its biggest aircraft carrier, the USS Gerald R. Ford, to the Caribbean, along with multiple destroyers, cruisers, a nuclear-powered submarine, and advanced aircraft. Under the banner of a war on drug cartels, US forces have carried out a series of lethal strikes on boats in the Caribbean and the Eastern Pacific, killing more than 80 people in at least 21 attacks. According to Pentagon figures, human rights groups and some US allies say these operations risk breaking international law, accusing Washington of conducting extrajudicial killings. Far from any traditional battlefield support among the US public is limited. One recent poll showed just 35% of respondents backing the use of US military force in Venezuela without that country's consent to curb drug flows. It's against this backdrop that Trump has started to adjust his tone. Speaking to reporters in Florida, he floated the prospect of direct engagement with Maduro. He said, "We may be having some discussions with Maduro and we'll see how that turns out. They would like to talk." In the same news cycle, he hinted that he had already settled on a course of action, saying, "I sort of made up my mind on how to handle Venezuela." Yet when pressed in a separate interview about in comments reported by, "I don't think so, but they've been treating us very badly." That combination, public threats, a visible armada, and carefully worded doubts about an actual invasion, has led many analysts to conclude that the White House is trying to maximize pressure while keeping an off-ramp open. In Caracas, Maduro has responded by portraying the standoff as a fight for Venezuela's sovereignty rather than a contest over drugs. As US warships and aircraft have edged closer, he has ordered the armed forces onto high alert. Venezuelan media quoted him declaring that the country was in a state of maximum preparedness for a possible clash with US forces. At the same time, Maduro has tried to appeal directly to American and international opinion by invoking the legacy of past conflicts. In a recent interview, he urged Washington not to repeat the mistakes of previous interventions, warning against what he called an Afghanistan-style forever war in Latin America. Maduro insists he is the victim of a campaign of disinformation. In a public message defending himself against US narco-terrorism charges, he argued that Venezuelan authorities were being smeared to justify escalation. He wrote to Trump that accusations linking his government to drug cartels were the most egregious instance of disinformation against our nation, intended to justify an escalation to armed conflict. Despite claiming victory in the contested 2024 election, Maduro is not recognized as Venezuela's legitimate leader by the United States or many European and Latin American governments, which instead back opposition candidate Edmundo Gonzalez and figures such as Maria Corina Machado. That isolation has deepened as new sanctions have been imposed on senior officials and security chiefs surrounding Maduro. Still, Maduro retains support from key authoritarian allies, including Russia, Cuba, and Nicaragua, and he continues to frame the confrontation with Washington as a broader struggle against imperialism and Western domination, Moscow's involvement in Venezuela is not new. Over the past 2 decades, Russia has become one of Caracas's main arms suppliers, selling an estimated $20 billion worth of military equipment, ranging from fighters and helicopters to tanks and air defense systems. Russian-made air.
So yeah, so now with Donald Trump, like I say, he wants to have an off ramp. You know, now he's open up to talk, okay, to Venezuela. Okay. But a couple of weeks ago I said he was beating his chest, you know, saying what he gonna do, and you know, he gonna be a ground invasion. And see, now Russia is just pumping military hardware in there. See, they demonize it when Russia do, like what Jake said, it's cool when they do it, you know, the problem when I do it, you know, because America has been doing this to Russia for decades, you know, arming these nations that's border, okay, or near, okay, Russia. And the latest has been in Ukraine, you know, when there was a red line from Russia. So Russia invaded Ukraine, and now we seeing Russia project itself in the West. Okay, like, well, little nigga, you gonna position, you know, your missiles, and you gonna position military hardware here, where we finna set up right here. Okay, and it's just been this ongoing proxy and back and forth, you know, between Russia and America, man. You know, and I gotta look that up, man. I gotta get this chat back working on what they got going on. But yeah, we're gonna get into the build up, you know, with America and Russia off of Ratazar, man. I gotta do that soon, you know. But well, yeah. So like I said, Trump ain't no military guy. All right, Nero, you look into Nero. All right, Nero was just, you know, a freaky psychopath. Okay, that's all this nigga was, man. Wasn't nothing special about this guy. And he definitely, all right, not a leader of men. Okay. So let's play a little more of this, and then I got another quick one I want to play.
300 air defense batteries were delivered years ago, giving Venezuela a layered system designed to deter hostile aircraft. Russian technicians, military trainers, and private security contractors have all been reported in the country at various points, helping to maintain equipment and bolster Maduro's grip on power. In recent years, this relationship has been deepened and formalized. During a visit to Moscow to mark the 80-year anniversary of the end of World War II, Maduro announced a new decade-long alliance with Russia. After meeting Vladimir Putin, he said, "There is perfect harmony between Russia and Venezuela." For the Kremlin, Venezuela offers something highly valuable, a friendly foothold in the Western Hemisphere at a time of open confrontation with the United States and NATO in Europe. Analysts say the country provides not only arms sales and economic opportunities, but also options for intelligence collection and, in a crisis, a place from which to project military power close to US shores. That broader partnership has taken on new urgency in recent weeks. A senior member of Russia's parliament, Alexei Zhuravlev, has confirmed that Moscow has delivered additional advanced air defense systems to Venezuela as tensions with Washington climb. He told Russian media that newly supplied systems include the Panzer S-1 and Buk M2E, transported on Il-76 cargo aircraft run by a Russian logistics airline that has been sanctioned by the US for moving military equipment. According to Zhuravlev, the Panzer S-1 and Buk M2E are meant to complement the S-300VM batteries already in Venezuelan service, creating a more robust umbrella that can target aircraft, helicopters, cruise missiles, and drones across multiple ranges. He also indicated that Russia could go further. He said, "Information about the volumes and exact names of what's being imported from Russia is classified, so the Americans could be in for some surprises." In the
Yeah, it ain't gonna be sweet. They say on the clump, somebody better tell Cleve some scrap. Goddamn, it ain't gonna go like you think. You know, which, like I said, of course, America is far more superior militarily. But see, now it just ain't nothing sweet no more. Okay, you can't just come in and bomb people to sleep and there's no reaction. Now they got something to reach out and touch you, and there's no telling what Russia got over there. Because you gotta understand, yeah, America can bomb Venezuela to hell and back. But see, if Venezuela is able to inflict any damage on U.S. military, that's a loss for the U.S., man. okay, politically, okay, and it emboldens, these other nations, all right, to become, more, all right, belligerent, okay, against America, just like the Houthi rebels. The Houthi rebels inspired, everybody to be in this belligerent spirit against America, like the Houthis, going back and forth with American warships. Okay, so now it's like, okay, this is not as tough as he putting on. Okay, now I want to play this too real quick. Then I end it in a minute. Well, let's go here. It's from watching El Pasta Har, video. All right, let's play this.
Let me do this. Oh, if you don't know, I looked this up. Donald Trump backed off Taco, living up to his name, Taco. Trump always chickening out. He ordered the ships to go down there, these battleships to go down to the area of Venezuela and the surrounding islands in that area, um, to declare war. He found out that Russia sent ships over there and he's backing off. Now he wants to discuss. This guy's a punk. He's a punk bitch. Nero's a punk ass bitch, And even his own people are kind of looking at him. That's all I'm going to say. Let me do this.
Yeah, man, Nero ain't. Yeah, you Americans ain't got nothing. Okay, for leadership. Okay, you don't have any goddamn thing. A clown at best. Oh boy. So let's get this. All right, we'll make this super long. Just as a matter of fact, let's just go to the previous chapter. You always get it because it's always happening. You don't know why we always getting certain precepts because it's always happening, nigga. All right. This is Jeremiah 49:14. It says, I have heard a report from the Lord, and the messengers has been sent to the nation saying, gather together and come against her and rise up for battle. So there's a call to these nations to rise up for battle, okay, against the whore. Okay, the whore is being surrounded. Okay, she's being plotted on. All right, and she's gonna walk into their snare. All right, and you got the perfect idiot. Okay, a president don't have a clue of what's going on. Okay, it said, for behold, Edom, I have made you small among the nations and despised among men. Okay, so that superior, invincible, okay, persona that America was able to throw around the earth, well, that's not there anymore. All right, America is looking extremely vulnerable these days. Okay, it says, as for your terror, the pride and arrogance of your heart have deceived you. All right, oh, you who live in the cliffs of the rocks. All right, Salah, also called Petra, showing you talking about you devils, man. But now, all right, you devils, you have this high and lofty position in the earth. Okay, your governments are the top governments in the earth. Okay, it says, who hold and occupy the height of the hill, though you have your nest as high as the eagles, I will bring you down from there, says the Lord Yahweh Bashima Oshai. Okay, so the Lord's gonna reach out and touch, okay, this beast system, man, and the centerpiece of this beast system is America. Okay, it's gonna be brought low. You see? So yeah, that's the point. Just wanted to get into that. Lord will, you brothers. All right, and you social edified once again. I want to give all praise and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakakwadash, and double honors unto the apostles and the elders of GMS who rule well, teach well, being great examples towards younger brothers, and peace and blessings, salutations, hopefully, Shalom.